So basically, you got all the ingredients, you're all set, and you follow the recipe step by step, just like your mama or your grandmother or whatever chef you found on the internet told you to do so. Everything go as planned, and then you gotta try. What the fuck is this shit? Doesn't taste like it should be, right? So this is basically something that I've heard happens a lot of times, and you probably also heard it or even happened to yourself. So how is it possible that you follow a recipe step by step and you are supposed to be doing everything right, and then it just doesn't taste at all, even similar to how your mom did it or a professional chef would do it? If you give me a couple of minutes, I will give you 5 reasons why this happens. And those 5 reasons are instantly gonna help you perform better the next time you're trying to recreate one of those childhood memory recipes that you love and that you're craving so much now that you live abroad, or now that that beautiful person is not here anymore to cook it for you, or whatever the reason. So we're basically gonna go from the most obvious and maybe also the most difficult to fix till the easiest yet the most important details that you should be knowing while cooking as an amateur home cook chef. So the reason number 5, the most obvious one, is the experience, the muscle memory that experienced chefs have when they are making a recipe. You probably already know there's nothing like experience to perform and to get better at performing something. So of course, if it's the number 1000 paella that I'm making, I know exactly what's happening. Also, my eyes can tell me what the recipe needs. And even if I try to explain that to you, and if you only follow a recipe step by step, you're never gonna have the background that your mom has when he's looking at that paella, and maybe she knows that the rice needs 15 minutes, and in the minute number 7 she can already tell, hey, this has maybe too much water, too much liquid yet, so she's gonna just raise the heat. Or the other way around, it's getting a little bit dry, okay, so I'm just gonna lower the heat and keep it slowly cooking. Those things are details that only experience and only making 1000 times that recipe are gonna make you understand it perfectly. So basically, mom has cooked that recipe 1000 times and she knows exactly what to add, when to add, and how to change whatever thing it needs to be changed. Because each recipe, depending on when are you making it, which ingredients you're using, what's the nature of those ingredients. Sometimes tomato have way more water, so you're gonna have to also adapt the fire to how much humidity that recipe is having. Those are things that only experience are gonna tell you. Anyway, the rest are easier to fix. Reason number 4 is the quality of the ingredients, okay? And this is actually something pretty easy to fix also, but it's true that you need the eye and the time. That is something that most likely we don't have. My mom or my grandmother used to spend the whole morning taking a look to the market and going to the specific store to get the nice meat, to the fruteria to get the vegetables and whatever. We now expect to go to Mercadona or Lidl or whatever get everything there, shitty onions, shitty vegetables, the meat is awful, and then we try to recreate that super simple recipe and it just doesn't taste the same. The quality of the ingredients is super important, and the reality is that back in the days, they probably had more time to do so, or experienced professional chefs, they spend the time they need to spend to select the providers in order to get good quality ingredients. So that's something that is way more important than what we think. Don't expect the recipe to taste the same if you got everything in Lidl, which by the way, nothing against Lidl, but these kind of chains of supermarkets, the quality of these basic ingredients in these supermarkets is completely awful. So definitely don't expect the recipe to be the same. If your mom used to spend time selecting the nice ingredients and the right ones, all this kind of stuff. The reason number 3 that your mom or a professional chef would always understand, and you maybe not so much, is using the right equipment. And when I say the right equipment, I don't mean super expensive stuff. I just mean that you have to know if the recipe that you're gonna do is asking you to get something like stainless steel or aluminum that is gonna cook super fast and is gonna heat super fast, and it's also gonna lose all that heating as soon as you take it out. Or maybe you want something like cast iron that is gonna preserve all that heating to help you cook long time and low heat for specific things. Or maybe we're talking about a tortilla or an omelette and you actually want a non-stick pan in order to don't overcook the egg. You gotta understand what kind of pot you're using or what kind of material you're using for each recipe. It's not the same to cook, for example, a beef stew on an aluminum pot that the retention of heating is completely gone. It's just gonna be as hot as you put it in, and then when you take it out, it's gonna lose it. Than maybe cast iron that you put it in number 1, and as soon as it reaches the temperature, it stays with that temperature stable and long, which is more interesting for this kind of recipes. Maybe next time ask your mom also what kind of pot or pan is she using for that specific recipe, because it really makes a difference. Number two, and one of the most important, and I really believe you should start doing it from now on every single time, is to taste the food as you go. I've seen how home cooks normally, they just believe on that recipe that they're reading, they just go all in and they never even give it a try until the very end. And when you give it a try at the very end, it's too late. You cannot fix if the flavor is just poor, you cannot fix if it's missing some acidity or some, like a punch of maybe some umami, whatever the maybe when you made that recipe for 1,000 times, you probably don't even need to try it. But I still guarantee you that professional chefs and your mom or grandmother or grandfather, they give it a try every once and then to see, to also understand what is going on in the pot, how is it developing this time, you know? Every time you cook is different. It depends, as I was saying before, on the season, what ingredients you're using, where did you get the ingredients from, and all these things are gonna make the matrix behave and develop differently. So you always need to try as you go, in order to identify some mistakes. This is missing some flavor, maybe I should be adding a little bit more salt now, or maybe a little bit of acidity here would help. So basically not tasting as you go, it doesn't make any sense, okay? Like tasting is part of the feedback that you should be receiving all the time from that pot or whatever you're cooking. So please start changing that right now, because it's that easy. Just give it a try. And your memory and your brain is gonna tell you. Your brain is gonna be like, but mom's used to taste a little bit more like this, and that's gonna help you achieve that recipe. The reason number one, the one that I believe that is the most common and easiest to fix, is not preheating your pan or pot properly. If your mom told you that you should sear your proteins before adding whatever vegetable to make the sofrito, she meant that you should get those Maillard reactions, that you should toast it slightly. Also to build a font in the pot that is going to change completely the flavor of the sofrito that you're going to cook on it later. It's also going to make your chicken taste better, or whatever protein, because you're going to get those caramelizations, those Maillard reactions that are going to change the flavor. If you put everything too soon, first thing is going to happen is that those proteins are going to start releasing water, humidity, moist, and then instead of getting those beautiful golden brown colors that we're looking for, you're getting a simmered, like a boiled chicken or protein that it's literally gonna taste like nothing. And then the sofrito or whatever you're making in that same pot, it's also not gonna count with that umami and caramelization flavors that are gonna make a difference for sure. So I would say this step sounds really stupid, but please preheat your pan properly. It's really that easy, and I guarantee you, if you're a home cook that is now starting and trying, you definitely don't preheat your pan properly. Give it 5 minutes. Put it on temperature that you want, but give it time enough. Start using your hand also. Put your hand, don't touch it, of course, but put it close to the pan and start understanding how hot it's supposed to be. It's supposed to feel on your hand in order to then drop the steak and get a nice searing and a nice Maillard reaction. I would say, I can tell you now, yeah, you should preheat it for 2 minutes or 3 minutes. It depends. It really depends on the pot that you're preheating. It depends on the gas or stove or induction that you're using. So I cannot tell you a moment. I can only tell you that you should use your senses, use your hand, and that you should give the right time. And maybe if the first time it was not enough, at least you're gonna have information of how hot it was in your hand. And next time you're gonna be like, okay, it needs to feel a little bit hotter. Okay, that's really important. Okay, and together with this reason, also something really important, this is like the bonus track that you should also always understand, is the timings. Timings, we, like me as a chef that writes recipes down for the internet, we need to understand something. I can tell you, cook this for 20 minutes or 20 to 30 minutes, but the only reality is that those 20 minutes only work in my conditions, with my pot, with my heat, and with my ingredients in that specific moment. So when I say 20 to 30 minutes, I mean you're not supposed to cook it for 20 minutes. You're supposed to cook it for as much time as it needs, depending on your conditions. I should be saying cook it until the potato doesn't offer any resistance when you stab the knife or so on. You need to actually understand that minutes, it's not so accurate in the kitchen. Unless we're talking about, I don't know, like a lab, a kitchen lab that of food industry. They do have always the same conditions, therefore they can establish ways of cooking. When you're home cooking in a kitchen, it's nothing like that. As I said, depends if the tomato you're getting in September, also you got the most ripened tomato that you could find and it has a lot of water, maybe then that sofrito is gonna take 15 minutes more than if I'm using a tomato that it's almost green because I could not find another one. The same with even the food itself. Like, you get chicken, but those chickens are not always the same. We're talking about completely different animals, and maybe the chicken that I got was fed like shit and had a lot of water in the muscles, and whenever I'm gonna put it in the pan, it's gonna release all that water. Maybe if we're talking about ecological meat, the nature of the protein itself and the muscle that you're trying to cook is completely different. So you have to just adapt the timings to whatever you see with your eye. That brings me back to the reason 5 that I gave you at the beginning, which is actually the most difficult to fix, but the most important. There's nothing like experience, and of course, you're not gonna achieve the level of the paella of your mom if she made it 1,000 times and you made it 2. You're gonna start making it looking a little bit like the quality of hers whenever you make the number 100. And whenever you know exactly when you see at that pan that, oh, this is asking me to raise the heat. This is asking me to leave it 5 more minutes. This is asking me to whatever the hell. So those are some of the most important reasons why home cooks, amateurs home cooks, don't perform as good as professional people that has been already cooking for a while and has some experience. If you write these things down and you have them on your mind all the time, I guarantee you, maybe not the next recipe, but after a couple of recipes where you already know that, I should take care of the ingredients, I should try it first in order to see if it needs more salt, if it needs more oregano, or if it needs whatever, I should be using the right pot, I should be preheating the pot accordingly to the recipe, and I should adjust the timings to the environment that I find this moment in the kitchen. Your cooking skills are gonna go from here to here exponentially, really fast, and you're gonna also enjoy cooking better than when you just follow a recipe because you're hungry and you are craving that childhood flavor, but you don't know what the hell is going on. Connect with the present, understand what's going on in the pot. It's all about also landing in the present and vibing with whatever recipe you're trying to make. Don't forget to also enjoy every single step on the kitchen because, of course, also something your mom does that maybe you don't do as good is cook with that care, with that love of knowing what the hell is going on and enjoying the process also. Well, and I think that's all. I would love to hear your opinions on this. If you are a home cook, an amateur home cook, let me know what you think about these things. If there's something that you didn't understand as good. If you're a professional chef or someone with experience in the kitchen, I also would love to hear your opinion. If there's something that I'm missing, there's probably a couple of other really important things. So I would love to read those things in the comments. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you're already subscribed, and if not, please do it. I would really appreciate that. See you in the next one. Bye bye.